So I'd like to introduce you to a paradigm of values that's very useful in dealing with works of literature. It will involve plot, character, environment, and the way imagery is produced when character interacts with environment, okay? In the time-space continuum. Now, remember that plot is the source of external force. The 405, an earthquake, a thunderstorm, or another person saying, I love you, or I hate you. So this is external stuff, comes out of the environment. It interacts with the internal force of character. And in this interaction of external force with internal force, dreams, goals, needs, right? You have this phenomenal action-reaction going on. And this develops the tension of plot, generally. There are very powerful external forces, earthquakes, wars, etc. But there are just little profound ones, like we find here, that also shape character. You know what I'm talking about. You've lived in the world. So what happens in the plot is you have this arrangement of events, but you have a time-space continuum. And you can think of it as a tunnel, if you want. It's our lives, the time-space continuum of our lives. So into this, a character enters. Let's say Mimi enters, and enters the environment of Paris. Now, we know some of the external forces in this environment. It is cold. It is winter. And she is poor. She does not always have a fire to sit in front of. She does not always have a heavy coat and shoes and so on. She is poor. Like, consider the homeless in every major city of America. They struggle with this problem. So, another part of this time-space continuum will be the seasons. Winter is cold, but the imagery that may emerge may represent spring, the time of rebirth. And we associate spring generally with love, affection, even reproduction. So, a character enters the environment and interacts with other characters, with the environment itself, and out of that interaction of character and time-space continuum, the environment, come imagery. They just bloom, as it were, if you'll forgive the double entendre, in this time-space continuum. Now, you will find that the weather is constantly considered almost a character in La Boheme. He's referred to as an old man that is cold and makes people shiver, and so on. So that will be there all the time, and it will also be, especially in Act 3, in the music itself. More of that later. But the major imagery that emerges from the character of Mimi, and you will see it from the very beginning, and it has everything to do with her character. It's beautifully integrated with her character. Is the imagery of spring, especially flowers. Now, this is prepared for in the source, but also very, very, it's cultivated by the librettists and in turn by Puccini. When Mimi first came to Paris, she was what was called, she was a poor girl in her teens, and she became what was a syndrome for young poor girls coming to Paris. She became a grisette. A grisette was a flower girl. She picked wild flowers in spring and summer and sold them on the street corners. Men in carriages came by to buy the flowers, and if they liked the person that sold the flowers, they might pick her up. This occupation of the grisette also led to prostitution, as you can well imagine. And Mimi has fallen into that pattern. Now, Mimi has another skill, which is interesting. She is a seamstress. She makes lace doilies and the fine lace that's used in collars and so on. And she also sews patterns of flowers. She says lilies and roses. And for Mimi, this activity is calming because she's ill. She's ill-suited to enter into any occupation that involves a lot of movement and so on. But she invests the creation of those flowers that she sews in patterns with love. And they delight her heart. And she shares this with us in her famous aria, which we will spend some time with the first class meeting. And it will lay the basis for our musical textual analysis for the entire course. So just to remind you, if I may, we have character and plot interacting to form environment, and out of that interaction within the environment come images in this opera, especially of cold, especially a cold heart, and imagery of the warmth of spring and flowers, which represent Mimi's romantic soul.